What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about the card that just got released a couple days ago, or announced a couple days ago, the Ronda Rousey card via Netflix with Jake Paul's promotion MVP. And we're going to be talking about why I think this is very big news for the MMA space, how this can affect the UFC in the future positively and negatively, why I think they could be in trouble in the long term. And the main reason why I do think they can be in trouble and why I just put a lot of pressure, and Dana White's definitely not happy about it as well, is because this is a new option for MMA fighters to fight. Let's just say this card is successful. UFC fighters and MMA fighters across the world are going to be looking at them and be like, oh, I want to fight there. Why would I want to go to the UFC and get paid $16,000 or $12,000 show, $12,000 you win, and then the UFC can just cut you whenever the fuck they want? There's no really guarantees with the UFC. You're really just fighting for pennies, and there's no guarantees at all. So if this card is successful, and I'm not saying it is going to be, but it could be. It's a big fight. It's a big card. It's going to be on Netflix. People are going to tune in. And I am rooting for it. I am rooting for this card to be great and for it to show out and people to tune in. And because the UFC is going to have to do something about it. They're going to have to, because other fighters are going to start turning that way. And people in their current contracts with the UFC are going to be like, hey, like, I don't want to fight out. I want to fight out my deal and get the fuck out of here. You see what Francis Ngannou did. He got out of his deal with the go box, got millions of what he would have made at the UFC. The UFC tried their hardest not to let him do that, but he did it himself. Tom Aspinall, you see what he's doing right now. He's trying to get out of his contract. You can kind of tell he hired Eddie Hearn, but you're starting to see that the things are starting to roll. People are starting to realize that the UFC is not the best way to make money anymore. And I mean, it never really was, but it was the only promotion available. It was the only option. And now we're getting a new option if this is successful. That's why there could be pressure on the UFC if this is a legit promotion that Jake Paul is trying to do. And I think it's so funny that Jake Paul's doing this as well. You know, the history between Jake Paul and Dana White, they fucking hate each other. But this would be great for the sport if we have another promotion. Basically, they're gonna try to compete with the UFC, and that would be pretty cool. And I think this all started with the fighter pay thing as well, with the Zuffa boxing. It's been going kind of viral recently as well. If you didn't know, Dana White's been fucking dick sucking this company, Zuffa boxing. He's basically trying to fuck over Eddie Hearn. It's just a big mess. He did sign a boxer recently to Zuffa boxing, I believe, named Connor Ben, I think that's his name. And he signed him for like a $20 million deal, a one fight $20 million deal. And UFC fighters are not, I mean, I don't feel like it's being talked about enough, but UFC fighters are not responding to it well. At least some of them aren't. So some of them are very like, what the fuck? Like, why is he getting paid $20 million? What does he have to offer the company? These UFC champions are getting paid at most $1 million, $2 million, depending on the star power. Conor McGregor in his prime was getting paid $4 million. And Conor McGregor was the biggest superstar of all time. So when you're seeing these boxers that have he has no loyalty to Dana White. He's getting paid $20 million, one fight deal, $20 million. These UFC fighters are getting contracted for 8 fight deals. You got to be here for 8 fights, and if you want to get out of your deal, you can't. You're in there for life, and that's how it is. So seeing the flexibility of this boxer guy and a 1 fight deal for $20 million, it raises some red flags about what are we doing here with the UFC. Why are these fighters getting paid the same for the past 20 years? They're not getting paid livable wages. And I feel like a lot of people kind of swept that under the rug recently, at least, because they got a new Paramount deal. $7.7 billion they got. $7.7 billion. And I feel like a lot of misinformation has been spread around that deal, saying how UFC fighter pay was going to go up regarding that. And you've seen fighters come out every single fight week. They'll get asked questions. Oh, have you gotten paid more? Justin Gaethje at UFC 320 something. He said, someone asked him, are you getting paid more? You're the main event of a pay-per-view on the first Paramount card. He said, no, I'm not getting paid more. And like, if that isn't the biggest red flag on like something's got to change in the UFC. Justin Gaethje's a fucking star in the UFC. He's been in the promotion for years. He deserves to get paid. He deserves to get paid big money. He's been there. He's had exciting fight after exciting fight after exciting fight. And you got to think, the people that are on the lower thing, the lower than Justin Gaethje, you got to think, if Justin Gaethje's not getting paid what he wants and what he deserves, how are you going to get treated? And I feel like that's the risk and the pressure, where the pressure comes in. And once these fighters start waking up and realizing, hey, like, these top guys aren't getting paid enough. These top guys aren't even satisfied with their contracts, and they're hosting pay-per-views. They're the main fight of a pay-per-view, and they're not comfortable with how much they're getting paid. I mean, they did raise fighter bonuses from $50K to $100K, but it's like they've had that for like a decade, and they raised it finally. Like, congrats. Everyone wants to dick suck Dana White for doing that, but like, that's the least you can do. Like, it's pretty bad. And now we're going to get into just the product itself. The product itself. Man, I've been a fan since 2023, I would say. And I can confidently say the product nowadays is, it's bad. It's bad. And I feel like a lot of hardcore fans, or even people that only watch the sport to just dick suck Dana White or dick suck the UFC, or like there's gambling addicts that just like to bet on shit all day. They kind of like just dick suck these cards and say, oh, they're so entertaining, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, like these Apex fight nights, or even like these normal fight night cards, like the fight night card this week at UFC Seattle, I mean, don't get me wrong, the main event's great. Like Adesanya versus Piper, it's a good main event. But the card under that's just like, it's not horrible. I'm not hating on it, but that's like considered like a great fight night right there. And that's the problem, because that's not how it used to be back then. That's not how it used to be. And I'm not even an OG fan. I've only been a fan for like 4 years. And that's just a problem. And I feel like what's happening here with this Paramount deal, and I think Ronda Rousey came out and said this as well. They're looking at it as a business perspective from now on. How can we generate the most money? And if that helps by going to the Apex 20 times a year and not having to fly out different people and bring out all the equipment to different countries and cities and just stay in house at the UFC PI, then they're gonna do that. And they're not gonna put good people on the card either. They're gonna put the 16 and 16 guys from Dana White's Contender Series. They're gonna put those people on the card because that's what makes them the most money. And they're gonna keep rinsing and repeating. That's why Dana White hosts this Dana White Contender Series every single year, so they can bring in a fresh new batch of Dana White Contender Series people that are all broke. They're doing anything for this contract. So of course that 16 and 16, that 12 and 12, whatever the fuck they're signing on, they're gonna take every single time. And they're gonna get put on these fucking prelims and early prelims of these fight nights. And basically it's just like fucking dogs go out there and fight. Go out there and fight. That's basically what Dana White's doing. Like, he has all these fighters come in and he just pays them shit money and he fills up cards. That's really what's happening here. And the problem with that, in my opinion, is that no one says anything. He hosts these shit cards week in, week out, week in, week out. Even the fucking pay-per-views are fucking mid. And we have crazy talent in the UFC, crazy talent. And we have the opportunity to host or to have some crazy cards, some awesome cards, some cards that would be like, oh my gosh, that is fire. But no, we do not get that. We get shit on a stick, and Dana White presents it to us, and everyone's like, oh yeah, Dana, that's a good card. And I feel like it's just not reality. It's really not. It's really not. And another big thing that's been going around that I noticed, and I think it got picked up a little bit. I know Twitter's been talking about it a lot recently, at least a week ago or two, was the Jon Jones thing. Jon Jones, the GOAT of the sport. The GOAT. Even though he's on PEDs, the GOAT. I don't know. He's probably my GOAT. I don't love the guy, but he's GOAT. And he wanted to fight on the White House card. He wanted to come out of retirement and fight on the White House card. He wanted to fight Alex Pereira, I believe, or Tom Aspinall, someone like that. He wanted to fight someone. And apparently Dana White comes out in his interview, always lying and shit. He's like, yeah, we weren't really thinking about Tom Aspinall. Or not Tom Aspinall. We weren't really thinking about Jon Jones. We weren't thinking about him. And Jon Jones comes out on Twitter and was like, that's a lie. They were in negotiations, and Jon Jones, his number was too high for the UFC. It was too high for the UFC. And that makes you think, like, what the fuck? If Jon Jones can't get the money he wants, who can? That is the GOAT of the sport. If Jon Jones is not getting the money he wants, what is the upside for the other fighters that want to get paid? There's not. And that's why I feel like these fighters have got to be looking at Jon Jones and being like, hey, like, you're not getting paid. I'm not going to get paid. So I want to go somewhere else where I'm going to get paid. And that's why I really hope this car that Jake Paul's cooking up here, that he's promoting or whatever, MVP Promotions, I hope it's a winner. I hope it's good, because it's going to put some pressure on Dana White to open up that bag and start paying people the money they deserve, because it's fucked up what's going on. That's for damn sure. And they don't even release the UFC like purses anymore, really. I think only in California they did it. And I think I saw recently UFC 298's pay-per-view purses, and like Volk got paid like $1 million, I think. Not even. I don't think he got paid $1 million. I'm not too sure, but it wasn't good. And like every fighter was just getting paid like $100K. Like, even the good fighters, like I think Ian Gare was getting paid $100K, but Ian Gare was a contender back then, so understandable. But like, go look up UFC 298 purses and you'll see. But it's crazy. It's really crazy. But we aren't getting the big fights. That's the point there. Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira would be a mega fight. It would be a fight of a decade type of thing, and the UFC can't close the deal. They can't close the deal because they're cheap. They're cheap. They made $7.7 billion and they're still cheap. I don't understand how that works. Let me know. Let me know, Baldy. Motherfucker doesn't know how to fucking close the deal. He always talks about how we have some shit you won't see coming. We have some shit you won't see coming. And then he announces the White House card, and it's like no one can hate on it because it's not that bad of a card, but it's like you were hyping up some masterpiece and then you give us that dog shit. So it's kind of like overpromise, and that's Dana White's whole thing. He overpromises. And I can't stand how he overpromises and then gives us bad cards every week. It's like, it's so ridiculous to me. And no one says anything about it. No one says anything. All right, now we're going to talk about what I think they should do to fix things and hopefully save them from going more down, because they're on a downward slope right now. Like, Q1 for UFC 226 Paramount has been a shit show, dude. It's been a shit show, dude. Like, the first pay-per-view of the year, Justin Gaethje versus Patty. Like, who was really, like, I mean, it was a fun fight, but, like, what does it really mean? Patty versus Justin Gaethje? You know? And then the next week we get fucking Diego Lopez versus Volkanovski. Who the fuck asked for that? I didn't ask for that shit. Who asked for it? No one did. And the fight played out exactly how the first fight played out. Volk outclassed him. And the UFC just gave him a title shot for no reason. Like, it's just like, and then like the fight nights have all been boring and just shit fighters from Dana White Contender Series like they always do. So basically we have title shots that don't matter, title shots that don't make sense, and shit fight night cards spread out across it. So what is the end goal for the UFC here? What I think they can do to be better, and what I think they should definitely do. They should definitely listen to me here. And I don't think they're going to do it, but this would be my dream and what I think they could do to make things right, especially with the added pressure. If things do go good with this card with Ronda Rousey, I don't think people are talking about what the consequences could be for the UFC if things do go good for this card. I think they should start traveling more. I feel like that would help the UFC a lot. Not being in the Apex really just kills the sport a lot. Like, it's really just, it feels like copy and paste almost. Like you're watching the same card over and over again with just different fighters. It's really just like the same. It's copy and paste. I think that's like a small change that they can make, but they're never going to do it because it saves them so much money. But that would be a really big thing they could do. Just travel more. Maybe limit the cards. Maybe like keep the pay-per-views once a month, and instead of three fight nights in a week or in a month, do one fight night or two fight nights and make the cards bigger. Maybe, I don't know, figure it out. But you don't need to have all these fight nights that are all filled with dog shit, and like it's just so much of dog shit, and like why the fuck would you want that? That's one thing. Another thing that I do think they should change, that's more difficult and it's going to take a lot of time, and I don't think it's going to happen overnight, is obviously fighter pay. They're going to have to figure out a way to get their fighters what they deserve, especially I'm not only talking about the lower level fighters, I'm talking about the main fighters, like the champions, because we could have easily had John Jones on the White House card, but we don't, because they couldn't come to terms with him. And no one even talks about Ilia Topuria versus Islam. Ilia Topuria's manager said that they got offered Islam, and the UFC's number for that Islam fight was disrespectful to Ilia Topuria. So they were even in negotiations because it was so disrespectful. So even if Islam wasn't hurt and his hand wasn't hurt, that fight would not have happened. Because they are underpaying their guys. They are not. Islam versus Ilia Topuria is a once in a decade fight. It is a once in a decade fight. And they can't pull that fight together right now because they don't want to pay the guys. Islam and Topuria should be getting paid $20 million each for that fight. That's how crazy that fight is. And the UFC is too cheap to open the paychecks for them. Simple as that. So we got fighter pay. We got get the fuck out of the Apex. That's what's really killing the sport. The Apex is so bad. It's really just go to the Apex once a month. I would be fucking happy. It's like every card. It's so annoying. Yeah, I think that's really all I have for like quick fixes. I mean, obviously there's a million things you can do to fucking change the UFC, like make the media better, get Dana White out of there, all types of stuff to better promotion. Let's do one-on-one face-offs. or one-on-one face-off interviews. That'd be fun, like stuff like that. Unique interviews, unique promotion. Promotion nowadays it's wonky. It's wonky for sure. Baldy doesn't care. I'll tell you that much. He's over here promoting Zuffa boxing and power slap and dick sucking power slap, dick sucking all caps, NASCAR, Trump, Kid Rock, Elon Musk, the Nelk boys. He doesn't give a fuck about the UFC. He always sees it as a fucking money grab now. Okay, now we're going to talk about the consequences. What I think could happen in the future if the UFC decides not to do anything, which probably will happen. I don't think they're going to do anything. I think their ego's too high. I think their pride's too high. I don't think they're ever going to fix anything. They haven't done it. So what I think is going to happen if it's not fixed and no changes are made and the Ronda Rousey card is a success for that promotion, and let's just say in the future that Ronda Rousey card, MVP promotions is a thing, and it's here to stay. It's here to stay. I do think there's going to be a legit competition towards the UFC. And that is a scary sight for the UFC because Netflix is a fucking motherfucker. And they could take away some stars from the UFC easy. And that is something I would want to see because then you're gonna have a storyline where Dana White has to try again. Back to square one. You gotta try again. There's no more just sitting tall and just fucking dicking around, not doing shit. And that's what I want to see. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Am I not thinking straight? Maybe. Do I think this Ronda Rousey card doesn't means too much? Maybe it doesn't mean shit. Maybe I'm tweaking. Obviously, there's a long way to go when it comes to that MVP promotions. It's not gonna happen overnight. MVP promotions is not going to be a thing overnight, but this is a great start though. This is a great start. I think they can do great things in terms of like prize fighting, in terms of getting fighters what they deserve. I wonder how much they're getting paid. Muhammad Makayev already said that he's getting paid more on this fight card than he was at the UFC. I can only imagine how much Francis Ngannou is getting paid, and Nate Diaz and Mike Perry. And Ronda Rousey was in talks with the UFC for her return fight, and Dana White told her to kick rocks because he didn't want to pay her. He's too cheap. And that's why Ronda's coming at him hard right now because she knows that he's cheap. She knows that Dana White is cheap, a cheap fucking fuck. But yeah, that's it for the video. That was my rant and why I think the UFC pressure's on. They haven't seen this pressure in over a decade, so I'm hyped for it. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Peace.